Their level of performance has hardly wavered. Then you got Sydney on the weekend, and both you boys did this game, and I was listening and watching, and at various stages it looked like game was done and won, and I reckon they thought that. And to Essendon's credit, their ability to come back and win is, well, it says as much about Essendon as it does about Sydney.
Well, Essendon were really poor in the first quarter.
It looked like a 100-pointer, didn't it?
It did. And it was, but I think the problem was it was so easy for Sydney to move the ball in that first quarter. It's nearly like it lulled them into a false sense of security, because when Essendon turned it on, like those numbers there, the disposals were something like 50 to 12. The uncontested possessions were clear. In that same time, there was 20 marks to 0. Yeah. Sydney just didn't have their hands on the ball. And you just think, well, you got Parker Warner, who had an excellent game. You've got Hickey, who's in the middle, Draper was doing really well against. Their wingmen were getting smashed. They really struggled to get their hands on the ball, and Essendon just dominated out of nowhere.
So it happened twice within the game. Yeah. So it happened again. So is this a team who... So the first one, OK, I understand what you're saying. We see that a lot. Teams kick 3, 4, 5 goals without really knowing why. It just happens, and then... So what happened the next time?
The second period would be really disappointing, because that's when the game was up for grabs. They'd got out to 16 points. It looked like they were going to sort of not cruise to a victory, but it looked like they had the game in hand. And then the same thing occurred, but it was effort-based stuff, it felt like. So they got smacked in a clearance.
Ball.
The contested ball was a smacking. Yeah. And then they just couldn't win it back, so they couldn't find a way to get it back off the Bombers.
Essendon fans, don't worry. We're going to celebrate you.
Oh, absolutely, because they shifted as well, which begs the question as to where has that been. But for the Swans, this was super disappointing.
So concern? You've given Collingwood the concern about this group.
Concern because Sydney is such a good ball-use team, but when you take that away from them, the rest of their game, I think, is back in the pack.
Right. So, and that hasn't been the hallmark of the best Sydney sides. The best Sydney sides have been the best little circle combatants. Yeah. So they're either winning it and getting out into time and space, or they're putting massive pressure on the opposition.
Bombers to come.